In the 1980s, the A-Team taught us that heroes never die. They just walk away from explosions. By 2026, fame had vanished, bodies had broken down, and some of the show's biggest legends were gone forever. George Peppard as John Hannibal Smith. George Peppard was born on October 1, 1928, in Detroit, Michigan, and he was already 55 years old when he took on the role of John Hannibal Smith in the A-Team in 1983. The cigar-smoking mastermind whose calm authority held the entire team together. As Hollywood moved on from his generation of stars, Peppard found himself increasingly isolated, respected, but no longer essential. On May 8, 1994, while battling lung cancer, Peppard died from pneumonia in Los Angeles. Dwight Schultz as Howling Mad Murdoch. Born on November 24, 1947 in Baltimore, Maryland, Dwight Schultz was 35 years old when he stepped into the A-Team in 1983 as Captain H.M. Howling Mad Murdoch, the eccentric pilot whose wild humor masked a deeply unstable mind. His performances in animation, video games, and Star Trek earned him longevity, if not headlines. By 2026, Dwight Schultz is 79 years old, living largely outside the Hollywood spotlight by choice, not defeat. Dirk Benedict as Templeton Face Peck. Dirk Benedict, born on March 1, 1945 in Helena, Montana, and he was 38 years old when he joined the A-Team in 1983 as Templeton Face Peck, the smooth-talking con man whose charm and confidence made every impossible mission seem effortless. Benedict's outspoken nature made him difficult in an industry that preferred compliance, and once the A-Team ended, the consequences arrived quietly. In the mid-1990s, Benedict faced a far more personal crisis. Now, in 2026, Dirk Benedict is 81 years old, living a quiet, private life away from Hollywood. Mr. T as B. A. Baracus. The mohawked powerhouse whose gold chains and volcanic temper made him the most unforgettable face of the A-Team. As the 1980s ended and the A-Team faded, the industry that once embraced Mr. T quietly moved on. Roles dried up, and the caricature that made him famous became a cage. As of 2026, Mr. T lives a low-key life focused on faith, personal reflection, and selective public appearances, having largely stepped away from acting while embracing life beyond fame. Melinda Culea as Amy Allen, the sharp, fearless investigative reporter who brought intelligence and emotional grounding to the team's early missions. Unlike co-stars who struggled publicly, Culea's decline was silent. There were no scandals, no arrests, just the slow erosion of opportunity. Disillusioned with Hollywood, she stepped away from acting entirely, turning instead to painting and design as a means of survival and self-expression. By 2026, Melinda Culea is 71 years old. Long absent from television, she remains best remembered for a role that ended before it could fully grow. Marla Heasley as Tawnia Baker, the glamorous new face brought in to replace Amy Allen after the show's first season. With few prospects and mounting disillusionment, she made a decision many actors never openly admit. She walked away. Heasley left acting altogether, choosing a private life far removed from auditions, rejection, and public judgment. There was no comeback, no reinvention arc, only a clean break from a dream that ended too soon. By 2026, Marla Heasley is 67 years old. Lance LeGault as Colonel Decker, the relentless military antagonist whose cold authority made him one of the show's most recognizable enemies. Unlike many of his contemporaries, LeGault's decline was quiet. There were no public scandals, no dramatic collapses, just the slow erosion of relevance that comes when an industry no longer needs your face. On Monday, September 10, 2012, Lance LeGault died of heart failure at his home in Los Angeles. He was 77 years old. William Lucking as Colonel Lynch, one of the earliest and most imposing military figures to stand in the team's way during the show's formative period. Off-screen, Lucking battled personal demons. He struggled with alcohol abuse for many years, a fight he later overcame, but not without lasting damage. The recovery brought stability, yet it did not restore the career momentum that had already slipped away. William Lucking died at his home in Las Vegas, Nevada on October 18, 2021. He was 80 years old. Carl Franklin as Captain Crane. Carl Franklin was born on April 11, 1949 in Richmond, California, and he was in his mid-30s when he appeared on the A-Team as Captain Crane, a supporting military figure whose authority carried quiet tension rather than brute force. As acting opportunities narrowed, Carl Franklin faced a familiar reality for many black performers of the era. Limited roles, little control, and even less longevity. Behind the camera, he found authority, creative freedom, and a voice far stronger than television had ever allowed him. By 2026, at 77 years old, Carl Franklin stands not as a cautionary tale, but as a rare example of reinvention. Robert Vaughn as General Hunt Stockwell, the shadowy government handler whose calm intellect and moral ambiguity replaced open pursuit with manipulation. In the 1950s, during the height of the Hollywood blacklist, he testified as a friendly witness before the House Un-American Activities Committee. The decision followed him for the rest of his career, costing him respect among peers and permanently complicating his legacy. In his later years, Vaughn's health declined quietly. On November 11, 2016, he died from complications related to acute leukemia. He was 83 years old. More than 4 decades later, the A-Team still feels invincible on screen. Explosions without consequences, heroes who always escape. But behind the bravado were real lives shaped by illness, rejection, prison, compromise, and quiet disappearances. Which fate from the A-Team haunted you the most? Share your thoughts below, and don't forget to like, subscribe, and follow as we continue uncovering the dark truths behind television's greatest legends.